Denny, how you doing, man?
Ooh, classic theme. Ooh. I can't do the classics.
If I touch these two wires together, do I have the right? Yeah. It's my impression of Tom Baker.
To hold in my hand a capsule that contains such power. You know, it's so even though it's like more over the top than now, it's sort of somehow more dignified, if you know what I mean.
I sort of do know what you mean, yeah. It's weird, but I completely do know what you mean.
Yeah. A wee voice break there. Nice start. I'm recording in the right stuff this time.
Fantastic. He's recording with his fancy new MacBook, everyone.
Yeah.
He's flashing his cash. He's his status symbol of a MacBook.
Oh, aye.
He's ready.
Oh, aye.
He's out there now.
I'll talk more about that on Sunday, and I can be publicly lacerated for my error. But anyway, what are we talking about today, Lewis?
Today we are talking about the classic Who episode, Genesis of the Daleks. Well, I say the classic episode. There are 6 episodes. It's a 6-parter, of course. They're like 20 minutes long or something. Yeah, it's a classic story.
Yes. Yeah. The classic story. Yeah. And I believe it came out in 1975. I think. Darius said it did.
Hold on, everyone. Let me Google it. Genesis. 1975, 8th of March.
Hey!
Hooray, we figured it out, everyone. Go us.
As Lewis said, it's a 6-part story, and it was written by Terry Nation, who also created the Daleks, and it was directed by David Maloney, and it is starring Tom Baker, Elizabeth Sladen, Ian Marter, Michael Wisher, Peter Miles, Dennis Chinnery, and Roy Skelton. So there you are, and some others as well.
And some other people that we just don't care about.
Yeah.
Those are all the people that are starring, but, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Google the rest of them.
Aye, right. Have you got any CRQs? You got any notes? You got any
good. We opening statement, if that's...
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, I'll let you. Go on.
Jumped the gun a wee bit there, Lewis. An epic depiction of the rise of a fascist regime with such surprising nuance, especially for a children's show in the 70s. A staple of Doctor Who that remains unchallenged in quality.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, classic Dalek story, classic Dalek ethics. I love it. It's the end. The thing I think this is actually my closing statement now as well. But it's like the thing I appreciate about this is it sort of speaks to the inherent unsustainability of any kind of incredibly intense belief system, be it far right, far left. It can become incredibly difficult to maintain. And it's like, well, Davros had this incredibly far right belief system, which was then eroded immediately. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of insane.
No, I agree. Well, on to CRQs.
Indeed. My first question: say a Time Lord teleported you to teleported you to Skaro, and said, "Okay, this is the Time Ring," which is very imaginative naming. Why wouldn't you just use the Time Ring, go back to the TARDIS, and then re-travel back to Skaro? Because then you've got a way out. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I think they sort of blocked it off with their Time Lord science or something. There's going to be an explanation.
Oh, of course, the Time Lord science.
Time Lord science. Time Lord cookery.
Yes, the what is it? The timeless child that is the Doctor, and the Time Lord FBI that he worked for. Oh, Jesus.
Do you know there was a Time Lord called the Time Lord? Just spelled
like the spice.
Like the spice, who was the greatest chef on Gallifrey.
I refuse to believe that. Is that really true?
Search it right now.
The Time Lord.
The Time Lord. Wouldn't make this up.
Oh, for fuck's sake. It is a thing. You're completely right. The Time Lord was a chef who lived on Gallifrey. Prose, knock knock, who's there? What the hell is knock knock, who's there? It's a novel in the Zero Room.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think it's a book. Yeah, it's a book, yeah. Jesus. The Time Lord. he regenerates into like Gordon Ramsay and
then Gino D'Acampo, and then
Nigella Lawson
Yeah.
and all those
he
people.
works his
Is
way
that
through
her
all
second
of
name?
those. Nigella Lawson,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought that. But anyway, as much as I love this story, it's a bit of a dick fest. Like,
Yeah, it is. It is a bit. Yeah, you're right. There's the only woman is Sarah Jane Smith, and then essentially she's like useless throughout the entire thing. All of her problems are solved by a man going, "No, come on, Sarah. Let me tell you the real way to do it." It's like, oh God, all right.
it's like at the end of the civilization, like there are so many like men, and it's like just
Yes,
from like a
yes.
science point of view, it's like, well, how does that work? No, wait. Well, there's that one Thal woman. I can't remember her name. Begins with a B, who speaks to the Doctor after the Khaled dome is destroyed. So
Yeah, but then when you think about it, say there is these gender politics in Skaro society, then inherently you'd say, okay, well the men go off to war then. So surely it would be at the end of this 1,000 years of war. Surely it would be a predominantly female society just through men going off to war and getting brutally slaughtered. So,
maybe they've
come on, Terry Nation.
they've mastered the art,
The art.
the ability to like reproduce without human beings.
Maybe.
Never know. It's a one for the forums. One of the qualms that I have with the classic stories is the need for like a quick and forgettable cliffhanger at the end of every episode. Like, I some of them are just fucking unnecessary. Like when Ian gets his leg caught in a not Ian, fucking Harry. That's his real name.
Right.
When Harry gets his foot caught in that big clam. Oh yeah, what's gonna happen next week? Or when Sarah Jane falls off the scaffolding and she clearly falls outside of it, and then the next
Yeah,
week,
then the start of the next
no,
episode,
she
he just
fell
gets it out
inside
and
of
carries
it
on
and landed
walking.
on a different platform. Bollocks.
Yeah.
No.
Oh God. Right. I do have a lot of qualms about this, to be honest with you. Like, if you have a secret meeting and somehow somebody finds out about it, it's not a very good secret meeting, is it? It's just a regular meeting at that point. Why would you tell Davros about your rocket? Davros goes over to the Thal Dome and he's like, "Hey up, lads. Let's have some peace." And they're like, "All right, mate. Let's have some peace." And then they said, "But we'll have peace after we launch our enormous rocket." And then he's just like, "Yeah, cool. All right. Let's get a rocket going on."
Well, the reason he did that was because he would then have utter control of the scientific elite. It's almost a sort of like a parallel to like what Hitler did, because Hitler in his mad addled brain believed that German people had betrayed him with weakness, so he was
Right.
just willing to let them all die in order to sort of save the idea.
The select few.
Yeah.
Hell. Yeah, I mean, not great. But I have a question. Why does Davros's office have a chair in it?
That's a good point. Yeah,
Davros is always
maybe
sitting
he
down,
gets
isn't he?
out and has like a bath or something.
Also, why would you have your life support? Why would you have a button
Yeah,
directly in front of you 24/7 to toggle your life support systems on and off? That seems like a thing you would want on regardless of anything else. And yet the Doctor can just press it and say, "Yep, there we go."
even then, like if Davros had it there so that he could press it himself, he would let go like within 5 seconds, like because he'd just sort of like fall asleep and then his finger would like go off it, and he'd be like, "Oh
Yeah,
shit,
exactly.
okay, let's try again." And he sat there for ages trying to do it.
Can you bring me a paperweight, please?
Jesus.
I have to say, flightless Daleks are much less scary.
I don't know. I think
You don't know?
I think there's something. I think there's something really horrific about these Daleks. It's like the first thing that it says is aliens, like just shouting aliens. It's like it's just pure and utter xenophobic hatred. Or creating something that just has the instinct to kill. It's like, even though even though it's old and it's in its grey sort of, 70s armor, it's like that is quite scary. And like, as a young child, just this horrible, hateful machine that's got a bubbly thing in it, that must have been quite scary back then.
I imagine so. Yeah, it's I thought they just weren't going to show us the sort of Dalek innards.
Yeah.
At all, and I thought that was quite a clever decision. And then in the final episode, one like attaches itself to Tom Baker's throat or something. And it's like, yeah, I mean, okay, I guess, but
it doesn't look like a Dalek. It just looks like a fucking alien
a clump
scarf
of
or
moss.
something.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the Time Lords are such dicks, aren't they?
Yes.
They are utter arseholes. Do you know, see, I like the sort of black sort of change, if you know what I mean, for the outfit, because the Time Lords are always sort of in gold and they have those huge big ridiculous collars and all that. I like this.
And of course, let's not forget when they're dressed head to toe in silver with flowing purple robes and a big collar and spiky shoulders. And let's not forget that, of course.
Let's not. But I like the sort of simplistic sort of black sort of outfit where it almost looks like death or something like that.
I suppose if you're a sufficiently advanced society, you'd probably get to a point like, well, why are we bothering with fashion?
Yeah, but then they just continue with fashion anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose
they look like some sort of David Bowie music video. I haven't seen many David Bowie music videos, so I don't know if that's accurate or not. But
to be honest, I watched the music video for Heroes the other day, and it was pretty Time Lordy. It's just like him stood on a box, and he's wearing like just all black and singing the song, and nothing happens. Yeah. So I guess that is pretty close to this black Time Lord get-up as well. One thing I do like as well is this Doctor is the most doctory Doctor I've ever seen. I feel like I'm not. I haven't got much into classic Doctor Who. I've been more focused on New Who, but like he's relentlessly sort of loving and caring and what's the word? Like emotive, witty. Yeah, he's like caring towards others and like passionate in his pursuit of like peace and love and harmony. And he's got this very got this sort of science first aspect, which I absolutely love.
And he sort of has like Matt Smith's sort of silliness about him, as well as like Peter Capaldi's sort of dignity and sort of sternness at the same time. Because he can have great philosophical discussions with a egomaniacal fascist while taking loads of jelly babies out his pockets and going, "This might take a while," and just he's an all sort of rounder kind of Doctor. As the Doctors beforehand had William Hartnell, who was just a sort of very stern sort of granddad. Patrick Troughton was really doctorish, to be fair. He could be quite stern, but he always played the flute, and he was quite sort of quirky, almost like a sort of wizard or genie or something like that. And Pertwee was very sort of serious, but he had the most outrageous outfits I think I've ever seen. And then Tom Baker, who's still regarded today as one of the best Doctors to ever come out of the show.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I did particularly like. When the Doctor was recounting all of the Daleks' defeats, and he said, yes, in the space year 1700. The space year. When exactly did the space calendar start? I would like to know more information about the space years, please.
Yeah. I love Tom Baker's outfit, but it just doesn't look practical at all.
No, the scarf and the hat. That is not practical.
He's fucking tripping over it, like in the wasteland and all that, and he's like, I'd tread on a mine because I'd be too busy looking at myself. I'd be like, oh jeez, that's falling down.
Well, he did tread on a mine.
And that's the funny thing. It just reminded me of that bit from Blackadder. Sir, if we tread on a mine, what do we do? Well, the general protocol, Lieutenant, is to jump 5,000 feet into the air and then scatter yourself over a wide area. What would happen? Would he regenerate? Would his body bits come back together and regenerate?
I don't know. I was considering this about like characters with a healing factor, like Deadpool or Wolverine or something. Is like, it depends on the writer basically. Like there's a series where bits of Deadpool that have been chopped off in combat that he has sit thereafter grown back. Somebody's been like following him around and been like, yes, I'll pick up that piece of arm and then threw it on ice, and then essentially they eventually collected an entire Deadpool. They sellotaped it all together, and the healing factor sort of knitted all those pieces together.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Doctor grow appendages back. We've seen David Tennant grow his arm back.
Yeah.
So maybe he would just grow them out again.
Maybe, yeah, if it like blew his legs off, he'd just be like, no, alright, give me 20 minutes and I'll grow my legs back. But then David Tennant, the only reason that David Tennant was able to regrow his hand was because he was fresh out of a regeneration. So maybe he would have to, because I'm presuming, I mean, I've never seen this before, this might be seconds after Tom Baker's regenerated, but I'm presuming it's sort of midway through his tenure on the show.
No, he stayed for a lot longer than any other Doctor, I believe.
Okay, well, my point is, he hasn't just regenerated, or he's not just about to regenerate. So he's not, like, piping hot with regeneration energy, so maybe he would just have to regenerate.
Yeah, the regenerations are really quick on the show. Look, they're not... You don't get like a full sort of Christmas episode of like them sort of... of the Doctor like recovering and like just getting up and all that. It literally, like a sort of white sort of coating went over Tom Baker's face, and then Peter Davison showed up. That was it.
I see.
So yeah, nice and quick.
Make it snappy.
Hurry up! Come on now.
Come on now.
Why are these Daleks grey when like the original design and like the first Dalek story was like silver and like sort of blue, like the much smaller ones.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's just sort of.
Well,
what's the word I'm
well,
looking
I know
for?
the
like
answer.
Like an improvement on the design through the time.
The real
Sorry, go on.
sort of real world answer. It's because of fucking BBC props. It's like they're not gonna make new props when they've got old props. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's why.
Yeah.
That's why in 2017 was it when Series 10 was just starting. Like we did a sort of flashback to the Mavellan War, which is a classic sort of story in Doctor Who, and a bronze Dalek was used for that. But they didn't have bronze casings; they had the grey casings. It's just like we'll use whatever fucking props we have, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I was quite excited when they came up with the redesign of the Daleks, the ones that were like designed to be a bit taller, so Matt Smith could stand eye to eye with them. And I was quite excited by that. I mean, I wasn't in love with the designs, but, you know, I kind of understood what it was. Like, was like, okay, I get it, that makes sense. And, okay, these are, like, 100% pure Dalek or whatever, and they hate all of the other Daleks in existence. So the next step is some kind of genocide, which is what the story was implying, was, okay, well, we're going to kill all the impure Daleks, and then we'll be the only ones left, and we'll make more pure Daleks. It's like, right. Okay, I see your logic. It's horrendous, but I see it. And then that didn't happen. The out-of-universe reason is obviously because BBC props have like, well, we've made fucking 300 Daleks. What are we going to do with them? If we're going to have to burn them all.
Oh.
But no, they in universe they just started working side by side for some reason.
Yeah, because they were like, oh yes, we must cleanse the inferior. You set that up to have a fucking Dalek civil war, don't you? That's what you do.
Yeah.
And then fucking the next time we see them, no. There's a parliament now of the Daleks. There's a prime minister.
Yeah. A parliament of the Daleks is a bit of a contradiction in terms in a strange way, isn't it? It lends it because plus they've got this sort of hive mind thing going on. It lends itself to like I don't know. That lends itself to a communist society. Like you could imagine a storyline where the Cybermen have a hive mind and a parliament. You can imagine that, but you can't imagine a society where the Daleks, who are essentially clones of each other in terms of their political beliefs. Just like they aren't going to contradict one another. There's no need for them to have a parliament.
No, fascists don't have fucking parliaments. Okay, they pin all their hopes on a big Ubermensch Führer to do all the work. That's what they did. That's the entire point of it. It's a big strong man to lead the entire sort of race.
Yeah.
So having a prime minister is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's something else. Like, the closest it came when I kind of got it was the whole Dalek Emperor thing. Because, like, an emperor in a right-wing society, I can kind of understand. That's more believable. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. You know, because empires can be fascist as well. So, well, they sort of are.
Yeah.
Is it? What was I going to say? Where is it? I've got to say, because it was like no secret in the 70s that the Daleks were like inspired by the Nazis. This is the most like overt sort of parallel between the two. You know what I mean? The scientific elite all wear black and they do the sort of Nazi sort of hand gesture.
Yeah, they do a bit. Yeah, that's true.
And like they talk about, our battle cry will
Purity
be total
and,
extermination of the Thal. It's like, and neither, Davros's right hand man. Holy shit, he just looks like a Nazi, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. There was... Oh, it's completely gone from my mind now, but it was Himmler or something.
Himmler, he looks exactly like Heinrich Himmler.
Yeah.
It's fucking shocking.
Yeah, the thing is, that's what I always saw the Daleks as. The Daleks are an example of an incredible far-right fascist society taken to its nth degree. And the Cybermen are the example of, like, an extreme far-left society taken to its nth degree. I think it's all just a big metaphor in a funny way. But they are very Nazi-ish. The Khaleds in this episode, it's a bit intense.
It's pretty intense. It's like right on the nose, which I like because we haven't ever got that yet. We hadn't got that yet in sort of Doctor Who terms. And Terry Nation, who is a fantastic writer, and the world building that he can create is just amazing. Like the whole idea of them using different bits of technology because they're running out of resources, and the corpses have a job because they have to pretend that the trenches are manned and stuff like that. Yeah,
and that's taken from real life, isn't it? That's something that was done in World War One because for the exact reason in the show, we've got to make the trenches look full, so let's prop up some dead bodies, which is horrifically morbid, but I guess effective.
Yeah, and all the characters are so memorable as well. They all have their own agendas, their own motivations, and it's, even though it's like a 6-part story, it's like that gives you time to flesh these people out.
And the Mutos as well. That felt like a very interesting group of people. It's like nothing but injustice has been done to them. Like they had chemical weapons dropped on them, and then because of their horrific injuries, they were cast out of society. Like, do you know what I mean?
Every sort of group has formed an arbitrary faction, which is kind of interesting as well because it speaks to this sort of Darwinistic nature that we all have when it comes to the end of ways. But it's Davros's story at the end of the day, this one. And Michael Wisher,
totally,
plays Davros. Holy shit!
Yeah.
What a
Is he always played Davros? Is it never had anyone else?
Well, he only played Davros once the entire time, and it was that time. And then they got someone else, but the BBC's funds were running so low, and they had to use the same mask, and it didn't fit, and it looked awful. And then they got another actor in called Terry Malloy, who was really, really good.
Because I was going to say the Davros. He's always an interesting character. He was great in this, and he was great in the Peter Capaldi episode. That whole sort of conversation with I want to see the sunrise with my own eyes one last time before I die, and all this, and it's like it's just really brilliant performances and stuff.
Yeah, I know, and what a complex character Davros is. His legs have been blown off by the Thals, because I listen to Big Finish and all that as well, and it's his legs are blown off, and he just completely and utterly hateful of them for it, and that when he realizes that he has the ability to sort of create these things, he's like extends that hatred to like everyone else, and he's sort of living his own sadistic fantasies through his machines and the creatures that he creates, which is like, holy shit, it's quite fucking complex for like a 70s sort of kids show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, Doctor Who has always been more complex than it's sort of than being a kids show. Like, I remember watching episodes as a kid. Like, I remember watching Dalek when I was a kid and being petrified of the Dalek. But like, that came out in what, 2005 or something? So I was 5, 6 years old, and like, now I watch it again and I'm like, oh my god, this is so much more complex than I ever got when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mental, the amount of themes that can be conveyed in these props that are just like, a big sort of fucking pepper pots with a plunger and a whisk. Yeah. It's like, any outsider that has never seen Doctor Who immediately assumes that it's just this fun little kid show and there's aliens and exterminate. It's like, no, it's so much more than that. It's so much more intelligent.
And I mean, it was always going to happen, but it did. It really took me by surprise when the Daleks turned on Davros and exterminated him.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you look at it on paper, it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. But it just really took me by surprise. Because, like, I've never seen this before, obviously. I hadn't read any of the IMDb pages or anything. And, like, I was just like, oh my god! I didn't know what to do.
It's the classic Frankenstein. It's Davros' own racism and xenophobia and hatred played back against him. Which is... And it creates like a sort of decade-long sort of relationship between the Daleks and Davros. Like, one moment he's, helping them because they've sort of stagnated and they don't really know what to do. They need guidance, and then he becomes like the Emperor, and then then they say no, fuck you, away you go, and now, like, the last time we saw Davros, he was just this sort of almost like just this sort of custodian or an elder that's sort of like kept because they don't really know what to do with him. They have this sort of begrudging respect. In case they need him, we'll just keep him. But
that thing you said about stagnation was particularly interesting to me. It's something that, like, it's the sort of the only inherent flaw that's sort of present in I mean, aside from the racism, it's like the only sort of built-in flaw that they have is because they hate the idea of anything different, they would never experiment. They would never say, okay, well, can we, I don't know, what if we make the guns half an inch shorter? What is that? Even something as small as that. Do you know what I mean? They would never change. They would never sort of experiment with different sort of adaptations for the casings or the beings within or anything. And it's like, that's sort of the nature of their relationship with Davros, I think, from my point of view. It's like, they don't know what to do with him, but they're like, well, we know we're kind of fucked if we haven't got him, so we'd better keep him around.
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, like, every time the Daleks sort of have Davros, they're like hindered, because, like, it's either there's always like a split, because there are Daleks who think, no, we don't need humanoid life forms, we're pure, we're the best, and then there's these other Daleks that, no, we were created by him, he clearly knows more than we do, and then it's like, but when Davros isn't there, the Daleks have always had a solid, cohesive empire. But then the problem is that they just stagnate and they just sort of do the same thing and they just fail.
Now that I think about it, actually, a Dalek empire doesn't make much sense. It doesn't fit with their end goal, because their end goal is to exterminate everything that isn't a Dalek.
Yeah.
So why would you keep an empire full of beings that are not Daleks if your goal is to eventually kill them? But you have the firepower to kill them. That's odd. I'd never considered that before. But yeah, why would you have... I understand the need for like a Dalek armada and whatever. It's like, right, well, let's just destroy this planet and take it out of the universe. Come on then. But yeah, I mean, the answer is, of course, so that you can have more interesting stories. But like, that doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just build a big gun that just, like, disappears planets to the negative zone or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. A Dalek Empire is kind of a contradiction.
I wish they would have someone the Doctor Who sort of writing staff that is always there regardless of the showrunner, knows the entire history of the Daleks and says, no, that's contradictory, let's just get rid of that. Because the history of the Daleks is so fucking strange, so annoying, and there's so many contradictions in it. In canon, technically, this is the first act of war in the Time War. This is what the Daleks consider to be the sort of first attack from the Time Lords in the Time War. Which is pretty cool, because it's like expanding the mythos like even further than it. Because it's hard to think of a Time War, because it's hard to think of it as just like there was a lot of planets and then it happened and then it didn't happen, but it's like at all time everywhere. So that could possibly mean that every Dalek story before the Time War ended could have been like a Time War sort of thing.
That is a really, really good point. Yeah, because it's hard to even conceive of like a battle as anything more than some people arranging to meet in a field and then fighting each other. But then then you start considering, what about this like sort of subterfuge and the Doctor literally travelling back in time to the inception of the Daleks and then trying to erase them from history, and
which is pretty mental.
Also, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say it's a genius idea to cast Michael Wishart, because he voiced Daleks in previous stories.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, I thought so. But yeah, definitely double great, because like that makes sense, doesn't it? Davros would have the speech patterns be sort of based on himself, because there was that the thing where Clara got jumped inside a Dalek with Missy sort of stuffed her in a Dalek. Yeah, I mean, that episode was full of. We'll get there. One day.
Oh, Jesus. I'm gonna save up for that, because I have got some serious issues with that episode.
But that episode when Clara's speaking in her own speaking voice, and then it comes out as the voice of a Dalek, which is that Nicholas Briggs? Yeah, Nicholas Briggs. That's who it sort of comes out as. So it makes sense that Davros would just pick that speech pattern that is his own speech and then just copy it into the Daleks. Also, what you were saying, that I remember what I was going to say. What you said about, I wish there was somebody in the writer's room of Doctor Who that just knew the entire history of the Daleks and would say, no, that's a contradiction. I think the reason that person doesn't exist is because he would be immediately murdered by the other members of the writing team. It's like, right, just fuck off, Chris. I just want to write a story about some Daleks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know, I think too often in New Who, people forget that the Daleks are not machines. Casings are not the Daleks. That's just the tank that the Daleks use to get around. Daleks are the little bubbly octopuses that live inside the machines. Okay, Moffat, do you hear me? Are you listening? Pierre Capaldi's like, when you were inside the Dalek, you made it say Mercy. No. She wasn't inside a Dalek. She was inside a casing. The Dalek wasn't there. Missy threw it out, okay? So, we'll get there. I'm not going to ruin it.
I'll tell you what I would quite like, though, is like an episode where a Dalek somehow gets separated from its casing, and thereby the casing, I don't know, develops like awareness, or it has like some kind of AI that infects the... What was that thing? The web mesh network or some bollocks that they come up with? Which, again, that's ridiculous. But for the sake of argument, I'd like to see, like, what if a case became sentient? And how would a Dalek just kill itself?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. That'd be interesting.
I don't know how I would feel about that one. I like the idea of a Dalek getting separated from its casing, because they had that in season 11. Which actually I actually quite liked. I liked the idea of like this sort of special genetically modified Dalek that could, interface with human beings telepathically and control their movements, and it had to do anything to survive. It's when it's a story with one Dalek, you've got gold right there, because then you can really just show the threat that one Dalek can pose. Whereas it's a whole army of them. The threat is somehow reduced.
Yeah. That's what I got from yeah. Yeah, yeah, because somehow the enemies seem to hold out longer against an armada than they do against one Dalek, which is quite strange. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. The threat is somehow diminished.
Yeah.
Like in Dalek, that one Dalek was terrifying.
It killed 200 people.
Yeah, and there was that Christopher Eccleston or someone quote about like one Dalek is enough to wipe out this planet. Just one. I know that sounds like it's not true, but it is. One Dalek is enough. It is always going to be enough. And there was that's a constant sort of theme. But then they all fly out of the Genesis Ark or whatever it was, and there's like a billion of them, and you're like, yeah, well, you know.
Yeah, it's push a lever, whee! They all get sucked in. What that great quote and another great quote in Dalek is Henry Van Staten is like there must be something it needs. Everything needs something, and Christopher Eccleston's like, what's the nearest town? Salt Lake City. Population 1 million. All dead. If the Dalek gets out, it'll murder every living creature. That's all it needs. That's it. That's all it needs. It doesn't need food. It doesn't need life or light or sustenance. It just needs to kill.
Yeah.
And that's fucking
horrific. It's like the I mean it's quite a common thing in horror really, is it just keeps coming. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't stop it. It will keep coming.
Yeah. No, it's a fucking Terry Nation. You're a genius guy. You know, there's a theory that the reason that there's a Dalek in like every single season of Doctor Who, even if it's not like a story and it's like a cameo, because like Terry Nation demanded it. Like in the contracts, it's like, if you're getting this thing, then I want at least a Dalek in every season of the show, which is shit. Because then they get boring, you know. So
yeah, that's true. You want them to. It's like if you go out for a nice meal once every month or two, then it's a delicious meal. If you go out for it every night, then it becomes monotonous.
Yeah, it's better to have them spread out, because they're meant to be the greatest threat in the universe.
Yeah, completely. The Dalek Armada, which will knock a planet out of the sky. Yeah,
I really like this story. It's one of the all-time best.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like everything that happens makes sense, which is something we can't say for modern Doctor Who. But I do like this story very much. It's I mean, I think we're just slowly gravitating towards closing statements now, so I'm going to hit you with mine. It's the start of an endless reign of terror from the Daleks. It raises so many interesting points of the nature of an extreme belief system and its inherent unsustainability. It's great writing from Terry Nation. It really is. Because it speaks about this sort of... It's the horrors that... It's a universal horror of it keeps coming, and it's like the ultimate perversion of your species. Of like... Somebody from your species has been genetically modified again and again and again until it can't be done anymore, and they're put inside an indestructible tank to murder everything they come into contact with. It's this extreme horror, which the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
Yeah, it really is. It's so fundamental to the opposite of what most human beings sort of believe. Just the antithesis of like cooperation between anyone. It's just no, we don't need help we're going to destroy you, and that's it. And the fact that they believe that they're right in doing it, it's like that's another quote. It's like Henry Van Satten's like, why would it do that? And the Doctor's like, because it honestly believes they should die. Human beings are different, and anything different is wrong. It's the ultimate in racial cleansing.
Yeah,
fucking horrible, man. Oh, so am.
I'm looking forward to talking about Dalek next week. Even though we've talked about it a lot this week, I am looking forward to talking about Dalek next week.
Yeah, that is some god tier writing there.
Oh god, yeah, 1,000,000%. Right, Cocker, have you got a closing statement and all?
That was sort of it. It was just a sort of mishmash of phrases and phraseology.
Yeah, I've got you. I think we've had mine as well. But
Dalek bad.
Amazing episode.
How about
that? Dalek is bad. Yep, that's great.
Dalek are bad.
You are
You
bad.
are wrong!
Oh, God. Yeah, but next week we'll be doing Dalek. We're going back to New Who. Because it's Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper, and they're running around under the desert, and there's a Dalek. So if you haven't seen it, check it out, and we'll be talking about it next week.
Definitely. Right, I believe we have some capitalist shilling to do, Lewis.
Naturally, my life as
Yep.
the uber capitalist. That's all.
Right.
All
That's
I do
right.
is shill.
Endless. I'm on Instagram at O'Hiram. I'm on Facebook at Daniel K Actor. I'm on Twitter at Kerzo2000. What are you on, Lewis?
I am on Instagram at Lewis_Brindley. I am on Twitter at LewisBrindley4, and I have a Facebook page which is named the same name as me, Lewis.
That's handy.
Brindley.
That's a good one. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Otherwise, I would just completely forget it if I named it like Jeff Smith. I would just forget what the page would be.
Why don't you tell us your name? John Smith. Your real name. Who's called John Smith? We're on Podomatic. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We've got a YouTube channel which is growing nicely.
It is. We've got a nice little community going on over there now. I'm really into it.
We do. We're on Deezer. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Amazon Podcasts. We're everywhere.
Yeah, we've actually just signed up for another year of Podomatic Pro Extreme Mega podcasting services. So
Yes.
if you're listening, Papa Podomatic, thanks.
Cheers, guys.
Yes.
We also have a PayPal donate button, so anything you can spare would be really, really generous and helpful
Yeah,
of
it
you.
helps us to keep the podcast going, and it means the absolute world to have your support.
Definitely. And we also have Patreon.
I was listening. Sorry, this is a massive interjection in the middle of the shilling. But someone the other day, I was listening to a podcast, and they said, "If you want to support us, you can check out our Patreon." And I was walking somewhere, and I was like, "What? I can check out your what?"
Patreon.
Yes, it was bizarre. But anyway, yeah, Patreon.
Patreon. Oh no, Sarah! It's attack from the Patreons. Shit.
That's true. They'd be like little tentacle creatures crawling out of the ocean. The Patreons.
Yeah, we're on Patreon, and we want to thank our wonderful patrons, Chloe, Darius, Sophie, Peter, Aditya, and our newcomer Richard. So thank you so much, my friends.
Yes. Yep, thank you very much, one and all. You help us support the podcast, and it means the absolute world. Every now and then I'll jump into the Discord. If I'm having a bit of a stressful time at work, I'll take 5 minutes, I'll make a cup of tea, and I'll jump into the Discord, and it's just nice. We have a nice little community. I really enjoy it.
Absolutely. We also have merch. Don't worry, the shilling's nearly over.
It's a sort of part shilling, part credits, isn't it? It's very strange.
It's the best part of the entire thing.
Yes, the most spontaneous part, because it's all written down in front of us.
We have merchandise on Teespring and Redbubble. We sell mugs, we sell t-shirts, we sell tote bags, we sell jumpers, we sell stickers, we sell loads and loads of stuff.
It's the links will be in the description or the show notes or
Yes.
wherever. They'll be somewhere.
And last, but certainly not least, we are partnered with a fantastic company called Number 12 Crochet Avenue.
Indeed, we are. Number 12 Crochet Avenue is a company run by my amazing wife. She crochets and she's dead good at it. I know that's the tagline I go for every week, but that's because it's so true. We've recently been doing. Everybody knows we've moved house, and just behind my office. I'm pointing. I'm pointing at a microphone, but on the other side of a wall, my wife has a crochet room. Where she makes and crochets an endless supply of things, and they're all incredibly beautiful. The Instagram is at Number 12 Crochet Avenue. It is absolutely bellissimo, the Instagram, so go and check it out. She takes commissions, she sells stuff. Go and check it out. Even if you're not going to buy anything, the Instagram is beautiful, so go and have a look.
Absolutely. Well, that's us.
That is us, indeed. Next week will be Dalek. Good old Henry Van Statten. Is he the one with... Did he have a moustache?
Yeah, he had a moustache, yeah. That's right.
Henry Van Statten, actor. Oh, he hasn't got a moustache in this picture. What's the point?
No, but he did. He did in that. I'm
He
sure.
fucking better have a mustache. That's the only reason I'm. Well, yeah, he's got a mustache. Good stuff. That's the only reason I'm watching is for the mustache.
Yep, and the really bad sort of
Soul patch thing he's got going on.
yeah.
A mustache and a soul patch. That's the only reason I watch Doctor Who. Is for
that one
for the facial hair.
character's bald patch and mustache. Yep. They should have a doctor at some point with a bald patch and a mustache. That would be. No. We need someone else. We need That would be interesting because the doctor is always sort of has been relatively plain looking. If you know what I mean. So there's never been a sort of wackiness or just
I sort of do, yeah.
some ugly guy off the street or ugly gal off the street. Why don't you just have wee mental Sharon from Up the Scheme? Yeah.
I mean, we could have wee mental Sharon. You're completely right. Maybe we should give wee mental Sharon a phone call. Hello, wee mental Sharon.
Wee mental toothless Sharon from up the street who's like, I'm a doctor. It's like, oh no, it's a Dalek. Fuck, run.
Oh God! Right. Well, I think that's definitely enough. Fucking hell.
That's doctor number. Thanks
14 for listening, guys.
Right
have a lovely day. Stay hydrated. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
See you next time.